Welcome everybody to the Kiosk Presents here in Buffalo in Western New York. You know, we all love cars, and summer is car driving season, that's for sure. I know I like going for those long rides and trips. And today we have the editor. He's actually the head of Cars.com editorial team and past editor of the Chicago Tribune, Patrick Olsen. Patrick, welcome to the Kiosk Presents here in Buffalo.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, I'm really excited here because you're talking about American-made cars, and here in Buffalo, we're a blue-collar town. We like American-made cars. But I see some interesting names on it, and you're ranking the top 10 American-made cars, but I'm seeing names like Honda and Toyota. Let's get into it. Tell us all about the list and how you put it together and what it should mean to us.
Sure. So one of the things we do, or the base for the index entirely is, one, we start off with the percentage of domestic parts in the car. And by law, that has to be stickered onto every new car that's sold. Secondly, we look at the assembly point, making sure that the final assembly point is in the U.S. And then thirdly, we look at sales, knowing that the more units that a car or truck sells, the more auto workers, the more suppliers are going to be employed making that car. And that's how we come up with the list.
So you have a website, Cars.com. Can you go to that website and get more of this information, or do you have to go and check out the car and check out the sticker at the dealership?
Well, for consumers who are interested in this, they should go check out the stickers at the dealership. So there are two stickers on every car. One will show you the percentage of domestic parts, and for the F-150 that I'm sitting behind the wheel of, that's 75%, and that's our minimum threshold. But then there's a second sticker that will tell you the assembly point. And based on those things, consumers can judge for themselves if a car is as American as they want it to be.
You know, I know it's going to be an odd question. Almost everybody's going to know the answer before I even ask it, but is there a 100% American-made car? There
is not a car that has 100% domestic parts. It ranges all the way from about 80, 85% down to zero, but there's no car that has 100% domestic parts.
And one other thing too, because somebody asked me this, they said, is there a car that's assembled in America that has no American-made parts? Do you know that?
There is no car that is assembled here that has no American parts, but there are cars that are assembled here that have very few. That, for example, some of the hybrids have all their drivetrains shipped from overseas, and because that number is dependent on the weight of components, then a big chunk of their weight is from overseas, and so they have a very low domestic parts score.
Let's go through the list just a little bit, if you
Sure.
don't mind, Patrick. What is the, according to your research and how you rated these cars on the top 10 list, what's the most American-made car?
So number one on our list is the Ford F-150, and I'm sitting in one right now out of Claycomo, Missouri, one of the two plants that in Dearborn where it's made. Number two is the Toyota Camry, which had been number one on our list for the last 4 years running, but it's seen its sales plateau while pickup truck sales have sort of taken off through the roof. Number three is the Dodge Avenger, Chrysler's midsize sedan. Number four is the Honda Odyssey, Honda's very popular minivan. Number five is Toyota Sienna, their minivan.
You know, Toyota hit a bump in the road a couple years ago. You're saying they've recovered pretty well from that?
They did. I think once, between the recalls and then the tsunami and the earthquake in Japan, they certainly have had their difficulties. Last year, their sales went through the roof, but this year they're plateauing. I think as a response to the efforts last year they went to rejuvenate their sales. This year, consumers are a little oversold on Toyota, and I think that's reflected in their sales.
All right, from like a quality standpoint, from consumer satisfaction standpoint, do you take those things into consideration when you're putting this list together, or is this more about just how the car is made?
It's really just about how the car is made, but of course, the honest answer is that most cars today are better built than ever before because consumers demand it. Consumers are not willing to put up with cars that fall apart early or have engine or transmission problems, and so all automakers, domestic and foreign, have really struggled and worked hard to fix those problems because they know that consumers will vote with their feet and will run off to someone else, in order to get a car that does work.
You know, we just did an interview talking about the top best cars under $18,000. Now, knowing everything you know, I know you can't make an exact recommendation.
Sure.
Maybe you'll have to say two different names, but with everything you know about the American-made cars and on the top 10 list, if not for yourself, for one of your family members, what car might you suggest, even if it's two?
Under $18,000?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say there's several. The new Chevy Cruze is a very roomy car that is under $18,000, although you'll get a fairly base model. I think the Honda Civic, redone for 2013, they did a fantastic job. I'd recommend that. I'm a big fan of the Hyundai Elantra. I think all three of those would give you a car that you'd be very comfortable in.
Very good. Okay, awesome. And I know a few people have a couple of those cars, and with great dependability, I might add. Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's great. So if people want to know more, is the best place for them to go to find out more about the the parts in their American-made car. Is it cars.com? Is that right where they should go?
That's exactly where they should go. We've got all the information they need to research, to see our reviews, to see our videos and our photos of cars, and to make a choice that's going to work for them.
All right, Patrick. Well, listen, it's been a delight having you here. We love our cars, like I said, in Buffalo, New York, so you're a very welcome guest to have on the show, and thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thank you, Don.